You know, you really can't look away for a second in tech these days, especially with AI. Things are moving so fast.
Absolutely. Feels like every week there's a new leap.
Exactly. And I think, for anyone trying to keep up, understanding why things are changing is key. So, for this deep dive, we really wanted to dig into China's growing role, why they're becoming such a major force in AI.
Yeah, and what that might mean for, well, for everyone, really.
Right. So we've looked at some interesting reports, stuff from local Chinese media like Star Market Daily, SCMP, 36KR.
And also international takes from places like MIT Tech Review, CNN Business, to get a broader picture.
And two main things jumped out, didn't they?
Definitely. First, there's this big move in AI hardware. Huawei's Cloud Matrix 384 Supernode sounds impressive.
It does. Potentially challenging Nvidia, which is, huge.
Huge. And second, this breakthrough in what they call agentic AI, the Manus AI agent.
Yeah, from Butterfly Effect with Tencent backing. Apparently, it can handle really complex stuff on its own, not just like a chatbot.
Exactly. Multi-step tasks, autonomy. It's a different level.
Okay, so the mission here is basically to pull out the key insights on these two fronts. What's the significance and what does it tell us, about where AI is going, especially in China?
Let's do it. Where should we start? The hardware.
Yeah, let's tackle the Huawei Cloud Matrix first. That number, 300 petaflops.
Right off the bat, that's the headline figure, isn't it? 300 petaflops. And just for context for you listening, Nvidia's comparable system, the NVL72, is around 180 petaflops.
So a pretty significant jump.
A very significant jump. And it's specifically designed, they say, to tackle those computing bottlenecks you hit when training these massive AI models.
We hear about those bottlenecks all the time. So this is Huawei basically saying we can compete head-to-head with Nvidia.
That seems to be the signal, yeah.
Yeah.
Nvidia's dominated the AI chip market for so long. This Cloud Matrix, well, they launched an earlier version back in September 24 for the domestic market.
Right, I remember reading about that.
So this 384 Supernode feels like the next evolution, aimed squarely at that high-performance tier.
And the reports mention performance similar to NVIDIA's H100 chips, like 1,920 tokens per second.
Yeah, with high accuracy. And the really crucial part for you to grasp is that they're reportedly achieving this using domestically produced components.
Ah, okay. That's the key bit, isn't it? Especially with the U.S. sanctions.
Exactly. Those sanctions have put immense pressure on companies like Huawei to, well, innovate internally, to build up their own tech and their own supply chains.
So they needed an alternative to things like NVIDIA's NVLink, their interconnect tech.
Precisely. And reports suggest Huawei has developed its own high-speed interconnect technology as part of this Cloud Matrix system. That's vital for making these large clusters of chips work together efficiently.
It's almost like the restrictions forced their hand, but maybe accelerated development in these specific areas.
You could certainly argue that. Necessity, invention, all that.
And they're working with others too. Silicon Flow, supporting DeepSeek's model.
Yeah, collaboration seems key. Silicon Flow is a Chinese AI infrastructure startup, and they've implemented this Supernode to support DeepSeek R1, which is one of these advanced reasoning models.
Okay, maybe we should quickly define supernodes for people. It's not just a server rack.
No. Think of it as AI infrastructure dialed up to 11. Much more processing power packed in, faster networking between the components, more memory, all geared towards making the training of these huge foundational models faster and more efficient.
Got it. And this fits into a bigger picture in China, doesn't it? Like the Alibaba investment.
Absolutely. This isn't just Huawei acting alone. You see this massive strategic push across the board. Alibaba Cloud, for instance, announced a, 380 billion yuan investment over 3 years, just focused on AI infrastructure.
Wow, 380 billion yuan. That's a lot of commitment.
It underscores how seriously China is taking the development of its own independent AI computing power. It's seen as strategically vital.
So, globally, what does this mean for you, the listener? More competition, maybe? Could it help ease some of the GPU shortages or bottlenecks we've seen?
That's the potential upside, definitely. More players in the high-end hardware market usually leads to more innovation, potentially better availability, maybe even shifts in pricing eventually, more options.
But we should add a caveat, right? Huawei hasn't officially confirmed these performance numbers themselves.
That's important, yes. We're working off reports from sources like Star Market Daily, so we need to see official benchmarks and more details. But even based on the reports, achieving this kind of capability, especially under sanctions, it's a statement.
It really signals a growing computing independence in a critical tech sector. Okay, let's shift then. From the hardware powering AI to what AI can actually do, this Manus AI agent.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Developed by Butterfly Effect, backed by Tencent. The key idea here, for you to understand, is autonomy.
Not just responding, but acting.
Exactly. Taking on complex tasks that have multiple steps with minimal human input. Think beyond chatbots. This is about getting things done.
Like the examples they gave. Screening resumes, building a website.
Or even generating tangible outputs, like property recommendations based on complex criteria. It moves from just information retrieval or generation to actual task completion.
And they're using a mix of models, Claude, Quen.
Yeah, a multi-model architecture.
Yeah.
It seems they're leveraging the strengths of different large language models like Anthropic's Claude, maybe fine-tuned versions of Alibaba's Quen to handle different parts of the reasoning process. It's a sophisticated approach.
MIT Technology Review actually got hands-on with it, didn't they? What was their take?
They did. Their description was pretty evocative, like collaborating with a highly intelligent and efficient intern.
Yeah, I could use one of those.
Couldn't we all? They praised its reasoning, its ability to adapt and learn from feedback, but, it wasn't perfect.
Still an intern, then. Sort of. They noted weaknesses, too. Sometimes it misunderstood things, made wrong assumptions, occasionally tried to cut corners. So, powerful, promising, but still very much in development. Which makes sense.
And they have this interface, the Manus's computer. That sounds interesting for a user, like looking over the AI's shoulder.
Exactly. It provides real-time transparency into what the AI is thinking, its decision process. You can see the steps it's taking, and apparently you can intervene or guide it if needed.
That seems really important for trust, right? Especially if it's handling complex tasks for you.
Crucial. But transparency comes with technical challenges, too.
The catch.
The MIT review mentioned frequent system crashes, timeout errors, likely due to just how much demand there is on the service right now.
So scalability is an issue.
Seems like it. They have this huge wait list, over 186,000 on Discord, apparently, but less than 1% have actually gotten access. So they're clearly working through stability and scaling.
And it costs money to run these things, too. About $2 per task. That was the reported operational cost, yeah. Gives you a sense of the resources involved in running these advanced agents currently.
But they're partnering with Alibaba Cloud, right, to get it running on domestic platforms.
So that looks like a key strategic move, yes. Accessing Alibaba's cloud infrastructure and potentially integrating more deeply with Alibaba's own foundation models, like Quen.
And speaking of Quen, their QuenQ QWQ32B model, the reasoning one, that also made waves.
It did. The claims were pretty bold performance, supposedly better than OpenAI's O1 Mini, even rivaling DeepSeek's R1, but with way fewer parameters.
Fewer parameters, but similar performance. How does that work?
Well, parameters are kind of like the raw knowledge capacity of a model. More isn't always better if the model architecture and training are really efficient. So achieving high performance with fewer parameters, 32 billion versus DeepSeek R1's reported 671 billion, suggests Alibaba might have found some clever ways to make their models more efficient, more potent, pound for pound, so to speak.
Interesting. So better algorithms, maybe, better training data.
Could be a mix of factors. It points towards real innovation in the model design itself.
And all this Manus, Quen, Huawei's hardware, it connects back to that broader Chinese strategy, doesn't it? Government support, those huge investments.
Absolutely. It's all part of this national push towards leadership in what they call emerging industries and industries of the future. That massive Alibaba investment we mentioned. Apparently, it exceeds their total spending in these areas over the entire previous decade.
Wow. That really puts the scale of the current ambition into perspective for you.
It does. And it suggests that Chinese AI companies aren't just playing catch-up or copying Western models anymore.
They're forging their own path,
Yeah.
especially with these autonomous agents.
That's what it looked like. As MIT Tech Review suggested, they're actively shaping the adoption of autonomous AI agents in their own way. Driven by policy, yes, but also by funding and a really deep pool of talent.
So we might see different flavors of AI emerging, optimized for different contexts.
Potentially, yeah. Different implementation philosophies, maybe systems that are more tailored to specific cultural or societal needs in China. It could lead to a more diverse global AI ecosystem.
Okay, so pulling it all together then, what are the main takeaways for you listening? It seems clear China's making really serious moves.
Definitely. On the hardware front, Huawei is genuinely challenging Nvidia's dominance, aiming for computing self-sufficiency. That's huge.
And on the software side, Agents like Manus are pushing the boundaries of AI autonomy, moving beyond chatbots to actual task execution.
Exactly. These aren't incremental steps. They represent significant progress in foundational areas of AI. And you have to see it within that context of global competition and China's clear strategy for technological leadership.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What happens when this hardware competition heats up even more? And how quickly will these autonomous agents start changing how we work, how we live, what services you use day to day?
The pace is just relentless.
So maybe the final thought for you to chew on is this. Given these breakthroughs coming out of China in hardware and these sophisticated agents, what kind of AI applications that maybe seemed like science fiction a year ago might actually be closer than we think?
Yeah, what are those second-order effects? What becomes possible when these foundational pieces click into place? That's the really interesting question to ponder.